I didn't step in to be a hero. I stepped in because no one else did. That's the truth I hold on to when I replay that moment in my mind, the moment everything changed. The moment I stopped being a dockworker on the edge of human space and became a problem for the most powerful empire in the galaxy. My name is Kellen Voss. I worked Port C-19, a rusted trading station floating between recognized star charts and the lawless dark beyond them. It was the kind of place where smugglers, refugees, and broken dreams gathered because no one important cared enough to look closely. That's why she was there. She didn't look powerful. She didn't look dangerous. She looked small. I noticed her crouched behind a cargo stack while unloading freight from a Borathai cruiser. Her skin had a faint silver-blue tint, her clothes torn and too thin for station temperatures. She watched the guards with wide, terrified eyes, flinching every time they shouted in their guttural tongue. Borathai didn't traffic animals. They trafficked people. I'd seen it before and told myself I couldn't afford to care. Dockworkers who interfered didn't last long. But when one of the guards yanked her by the arm and she cried out, not in rage, not in defiance, but pure fear, something in me snapped. "Hey!" I shouted. Cargo manifest says biological transfers need station approval. The guard turned, irritated, his grip loosening just enough. That was all it took. She slipped free and ran straight into me. Instinct kicked in. I shoved her behind me and raised my hands. You want paperwork delays, or you want to get paid and leave? Borathai hated delays more than scrutiny. The guard growled, spat on the deck, and waved the others away. Just like that, she was no longer theirs. She stared up at me, trembling. Her eyes were unlike anything I'd seen, deep violet, swirling faintly with light. "Come on," I muttered. "Before someone smarter shows up." I hid her in my quarters. It was a bad idea layered on top of worse ones, but fear doesn't wait for logic. She curled up on my bunk like she expected me to change my mind at any second. "My name is Lyra," she whispered after a long silence. "Kellen," I said. "You hungry?" She nodded like she hadn't eaten in days. That was the first night. The first lie I told station security. The first time I crossed a line I couldn't step back over. Lyra didn't talk much at first. She flinched at sudden noises, woke from sleep gasping, and avoided mirrors like they might hurt her. Whatever she'd been through, it ran deep. She said she came from far beyond the trade lanes. She said her people were hunted. She said if anyone found her, they'd take her back. "Back where?" I asked once. She looked away. "To a place I cannot return to." I didn't push. Everyone on C-19 had something they were running from. Days turned into weeks. I pulled extra shifts, rerouted supply rations, and bribed a customs officer I trusted. Lyra learned quickly station codes, basic galactic speech patterns, even how to help me with repairs. She laughed sometimes, quietly, like she was surprised the sound came from her. I told myself I'd find a way to get her off station. Some neutral world. Somewhere safe. But safety is an illusion when empires move. It started with the ships. Sleek black hulls slipping out of hyperspace like shadows. No registry. No trade beacons. The station's AI flagged them as unknown authority, which was code for "we're not prepared for this." Then came the message, broadcast on all channels. By decree of the Aurelian Empire, this station is under imperial jurisdiction. All personnel are to comply. Harboring of imperial property is punishable by eradication. Property. My blood ran cold. Lyra was standing behind me, frozen. "They found me," she whispered. I turned. "You said you were hunted." "You didn't say." "I am sorry," she said, tears forming. "I never meant to endanger you." Imperial troops poured through the docks within hours. They were nothing like Borathai thugs. These soldiers moved with terrifying precision, armor gleaming with gold inlays, weapons humming with contained energy. And at their center walked a man who made the station feel smaller. Tall. Regal. Eyes like burning suns. Emperor Kayla Aurelian. Lyra collapsed to her knees. "That's your father?" I whispered. She nodded, shaking. "I was taken as a child. Hidden. I escaped years later. I thought, if I stayed powerless, invisible, he wouldn't care." The Emperor's voice echoed through the station. "My daughter is here." The room felt like it was holding its breath. "She has been corrupted by weakness," he continued. "Returned to me, she will be purified." I didn't know much about imperial politics, but I knew what that word meant. Lyra grabbed my sleeve. "Please. Don't let him take me back." I should have let go. I didn't. They found us in my quarters. There was nowhere left to hide. Imperial soldiers raised their weapons, and Kayla himself stepped inside, his gaze locking onto Lyra with something that might have been affection or ownership. "Come, child," he said. "Your exile ends now." She shrank closer to me. "She's not going anywhere," I said before I could stop myself. The Emperor looked at me like I was dust. "Human," he said calmly, "you are irrelevant." "Then why bring an army?" I shot back. "If she's property, just take her." A flicker of irritation crossed his face. "She is not property," he said coldly. "She is the future of an empire. And you," his eyes hardened, "are an infection." He raised a hand. The station shook as power surged. Doors sealed. Gravity spiked. Lyra cried out, clutching her head. I did the only thing I could think of. I stood in front of her. "She chose this," I said, my voice shaking but loud. "She chose to live. To be free. If your empire can't survive that, maybe it deserves to fall." Silence. Then Lyra screamed. Light erupted from her, not weak, not flickering, but brilliant. Energy surged through the room, warping metal, throwing soldiers back like toys. The Emperor staggered, shock etched into his immortal face. "She awakened," he whispered. "Impossible." Lyra collapsed into my arms, glowing fading to embers. "You lied," I said, staring at the Emperor. "You said she was powerless." "She was," Kayla replied, "fear and or tangled together. Until you protected her. That was the truth. Her power, royal, ancient, catastrophic, had been sealed by fear. By isolation. By being treated as a symbol instead of a person. I gave her something the Empire never did. Choice." The station descended into chaos. Systems failed. Docking clamps released. In the confusion, I carried Lyra to my ship, an old hauler barely fit for hyperspace. Imperial alarms blared. Kayla's voice followed us through the corridors. "Run if you wish. The Empire will endure. And so will I." We launched under fire. Hull scorched. Engines screaming. But we escaped. We disappeared into uncharted space. Weeks passed. Then months. Lyra recovered slowly. She cried when she laughed now. She asked questions about everything. She learned what it meant to decide for herself. The Empire didn't chase us, not openly. Perhaps Kayla feared what his daughter might become if cornered. Perhaps he feared what she already was. One day, standing on a quiet moon beneath unfamiliar stars, Lyra looked at me and said, "I am no longer powerless." I smiled. "You never were." She took my hand. Not as a princess. Not as an heir. As a person. Somewhere out there, an emperor still ruled his shining empire. But he had lost the one thing he could never reclaim. His daughter's freedom. And I would protect that no matter how far the empire reached.